Story 1. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. February 1959. 9 experienced hikers enter the northern Ural Mountains, led by Igor Dyatlov. Young, skilled, confident. They are engineering students experienced in winter expeditions. They know the risks. They prepare carefully. They document everything. Photographs, diaries, weather notes, jokes, smiles. Nothing suggests fear. Their goal is Otorten, a remote peak. Its name loosely translates to, "Don't go there." On the way, one member turns back due to illness. 8 continue. That decision saves his life. On February 1st, they reach the slope of Kolatchakel. Mountain of the Dead Wind is strong visibility, low snow, deep. Instead of descending into the forest for shelter, they camp high on the exposed slope. It is a strange choice, but not impossible. They cut into the snow, set up, the tent, cook dinner, write in journals, take final photographs. One image shows a figure in the snow, blurred, dark, indistinct. That night, something happens. No distress signal is sent, no flare, no attempt to stay inside. Weeks later, search teams arrive. The tent is located on February 26th. It is partially collapsed, covered in snow, but still standing. The fabric is sliced open from the inside, clean cuts not torn by wind. Boots are inside coats, inside supplies untouched. Food still packed, cameras left behind. Outside footprints leading away downhill. Calm footprints, not running, not chaotic. Some barefoot, some wearing only socks. In minus 30 degrees Celsius. The prints lead toward a forest edge nearly 1.5 kilometers away. Under a large cedar tree, the first 2 bodies are found, wearing underwear, skin darkened by frostbite. A small fire had been built. Broken branches above indicate someone climbed the tree. Perhaps to see the tent, perhaps to see something else. Between the tree and the campsite, 3 more bodies are discovered positioned as if crawling back uphill toward the tent, toward warmth. They never reach it. Autopsies state hypothermia for these 5. But the remaining 4 are not found until May, buried under meters of snow in a ravine. Their injuries are different. Severe chest fractures, crushed ribs, a fractured skull. One woman, Ludmila Dubinina, is missing her tongue and parts of her lips and facial tissue. There is no clear evidence of struggle. No defensive wounds. No external trauma matching the internal damage. Forensic experts compare the chest injuries to the force of a car crash. Yet no car, no avalanche debris, no visible blunt object. Radiation is detected on some clothing higher than normal levels. The explanation is vague contamination from previous work, perhaps. Some hikers had worked in facilities handling radioactive materials. But why only some clothes? Why only certain areas? Witnesses from nearby regions report seeing glowing orange spheres in the sky that night. Military activity is rumored: rocket testing, parachute mines, experimental weapons. Soviet authorities seal documents. The official conclusion states an unknown, compelling natural force. Avalanche theory emerges decades later. Modern simulations suggest a rare slab avalanche could have frightened them. But avalanche does not explain the orderly footprints. It does not explain radiation. It does not explain why they walked calmly into the forest. It does not explain the missing tongue. Infrasound theory suggests wind over the mountain created low-frequency vibrations, inducing panic, psychological terror, without visible cause. But would trained hikers flee barefoot? Would they not return for boots? Would 9 people independently panic the same way? The last diary entry is ordinary. It jokes about cold weather. There is no warning, no sign of conflict among the group. Photographs show normal interaction, friends. Snow laughter, then silence. The snow preserves tracks, then buries them. The mountain stands unchanged, cold quiet, indifferent. What happened inside that tent? What sound? What light? What force made? 9 rational humans choose freezing darkness over shelter. Their story remains open. Their footprints remain real, their injuries remain documented, and the wind still crosses Kholat Shachel at night. Story 2. The HINTERKAIFECK Murders. March 1922. Bavaria. A small isolated farmstead called HINTERKAIFECK, surrounded by forest. Andreas Gruber lives there with his wife Cecilia, their widowed daughter Victoria, and her 2 children. A new maid arrives shortly before the murders. Weeks earlier, Andreas mentions strange events, footprints in the snow leading from the forest to the house, none leading back. He hears footsteps in the attic at night. He checks with a lantern, finds nothing. A newspaper appears that no one subscribed to. Keys go missing, then reappear. The previous maid left abruptly, claiming the house was haunted. On March 31st, the family is alive. Neighbors see smoke from the chimney. On April 1st, church bells ring. The family does not attend. Days pass, yet the farm appears active. Cattle are fed, bread is baked, the mail is collected. Someone is inside. On April 4th, concerned neighbors enter the property. They go to the barn. Inside they discover bodies. One by one lured separately, killed with a mattock, a heavy farming pickaxe, blunt force trauma to the head, brutal repeated blows. Andreas, his wife Victoria, and her daughter, all dead in the barn. The 2-year-old son and the maid found inside the house also killed. Autopsies reveal that at least one victim may have survived for hours after the attack, lying in straw, injured in darkness. The most disturbing detail emerges during investigation. After the murders, someone stayed. Animals were fed regularly, fresh meals prepared. Smoke continued rising from the chimney. Neighbors report seeing a figure moving inside at night. The killer lived there, with 6 bodies for several days. No signs of forced entry. No robbery. Money remains untouched. The perpetrator knew the property, possibly knew the family. Suspects are questioned. A neighbor, a former worker, even Victoria's rumored lover. But evidence is circumstantial. Contradictions fill police files. Interrogations span years. The farm is demolished in 1923. Perhaps to stop morbid curiosity. Perhaps to erase trauma. Yet the mystery remains. Why lure them individually? Why not kill all at once? Why stay afterward? Psychological profiling decades later suggests a perpetrator comfortable in isolation, possibly harboring resentment, possibly mentally disturbed, but no name is ever proven. Imagine the stillness of that farm. After dark bodies hidden in the barn, a single figure walking the floorboards, feeding cattle, sleeping in a nearby room, listening to wind outside. The horror is not only violence, it is presence. The idea that evil did not flee, it settled in calmly, methodically, unafraid. HINTERKAIFECK becomes legend. But it is not folklore. It is archived, photographed, autopsied, recorded in official reports. A real house, a real family, real blood in straw, and a killer who vanished into history. Story 3. The Exorcism of ANNELIESE, Michel, Germany. Late 1960s. ANNELIESE Michel is a devout Catholic teenager, intelligent, quiet, sensitive. At 16, she experiences her first seizure. Doctors diagnose temporal lobe epilepsy. Medication begins, but symptoms persist. She reports seeing faces distorted, demonic. She hears voices telling her she is damned. Depression deepens. She withdraws socially. Medical professionals adjust treatment, add psychiatric medication. Improvement is minimal. She becomes intensely religious praise, constantly claims sacred objects, feel unbearably heavy, says holy water burns. Her family believes she is under spiritual attack. They petition the Catholic Church. At first, permission for exorcism is denied. Doctors insist on medical explanation. But by 1975, after continued deterioration, Bishop Joseph Stangl authorizes ritual exorcism. 2 priests are assigned. Father Ernst Alt and Father Arnold Rent's sessions begin in September. They are recorded on tape. 67 sessions over 10 months, each lasting hours. The recordings capture low, guttural voices, growling rapid changes in tone. She identifies herself as possessed by multiple entities, claims to be Lucifer, Judas, Nero, Cain, Hitler. Observers describe her physical strength as abnormal for her size. She kneels for extended periods, performs hundreds of squats as penance, stops eating regularly, refuses water at times, believing suffering is spiritually required. Her weight drops dramatically, bones visible beneath skin. Family and priests interpret worsening state as escalation of demonic resistance. Medical supervision decreases. By July 1976, she weighs approximately 30 kilograms. On July 1st, she dies in her sleep. Official cause of death: malnutrition and dehydration. The state charges the priests and her parents with negligent homicide. The trial in 1978 draws national attention. Audio recordings are played in court. The defense argues religious conviction and spiritual warfare. Prosecution argues medical neglect. The court finds them guilty. Suspended sentences are issued. Debate continues for decades. Psychiatrists suggest untreated psychosis, combined with epilepsy. Others cite cultural and religious context, reinforcing delusion. Supporters of possession theory point to voice changes and knowledge she should not have had. Skeptics note the power of dissociation under extreme stress. The tapes remain unsettling, not because they confirm demons, but because they capture a human mind, unraveling under belief and illness intertwined. Her grave becomes a pilgrimage site. Some visitors claim spiritual presence, others see tragedy. The horror here is intimate. No mountains, no barns, just a bedroom, a family, a set of rituals repeated in hope, and a young woman deteriorating physically. While adults debate spiritual reality. Was she ill? Was she manipulated by expectation? Was she convinced suffering was salvation? The answer depends on perspective. But the outcome is factual. A documented death, a recorded voice, a courtroom verdict. 3 cases, 3 settings: a frozen mountain, a silent farm, a quiet German town. Each documented, each investigated, each unresolved in its own way. The fear does not come from ghosts. It comes from uncertainty, from official reports that end without clarity, from evidence that raises more questions than it answers. Because sometimes horror is not what hides in fiction. It is what remains unexplained in reality. And sometimes the most disturbing thing of all is knowing that every word of these stories was written into history.